this conversation about Steph Curry and Magic Johnson has caught fire on NBA Twitter. We're going to go ahead and dive into all of the analysis. For starters, Nick Wright on First Things First said, quote, "I think we'll see another Steph Curry before we see another Magic Johnson." Listen to this.
Magic has him in titles, 5-4.
This is
Magic
Jason
has him in
McIntyre.
MVPs.
Hold on.
3-2.
Listen,
There we go.
I will say this. I think we will see another Steph Curry before we see another Magic Johnson.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because now everyone is trying to be Steph, and Magic, because you can't try to be 6'9". So you have to have this court vision, which, you know, there are a few things Magic had that were natural gifts that you just can't always have. Like LeBron, I think, could have been Magic, but went a different route, and, you know, it was kind of a combo of different great players. I think we're going to see another Steph, and that's, again, I've given Steph all the flowers I possibly can. I just think because so many people are trying to do it, and because he is a size that so many more people are, someone is going to crack the code to a degree.
All right. And then we're going to go to Jason McIntyre of the Volume Sports, who said that Steph Curry has had a better career than Magic Johnson. He said, quote, "On how many of those Lakers teams was Magic Johnson the best player?" Listen to this.
Magic has him in titles, 5-4. Magic has him in MVPs, 3-2. Magic had him in Finals MVPs, 3-1. Where's Curry better? If you're doing it that way, you're forgetting something massive when it comes to Magic Johnson. He was drafted onto a team with one of the top 4 players in the history of the sport, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. A few years later, they end up getting James Worthy in the draft. So you're telling me Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and James Worthy were the nucleus of a team that wrecked the 80s. And now all of a sudden, Magic's getting all the accolades for 5 titles? He did win, oh wait, no, he didn't. He didn't win a title without Jabbar. On how many of those Lakers teams was Magic Johnson the best player? Outside of a window where Kevin Durant showed up in Golden State and they won 2 titles, Steph Curry unequivocally was the best player on all those Warriors teams, all of them.
And lastly, but not least, my favorite one.
Yeah, boy.
Is Stephen A. Smith claiming that at 5:45 a.m., Michael Jordan texted him to tell him that Steph Curry backed Steph Curry over Magic Johnson. Wait, let me rephrase this. Hold on. Michael Jordan texted Stephen A. Smith at 5:45 a.m. to tell him that Magic Johnson was better than Steph Curry. Take a look with a 146-word text. This is a true story. Take a listen.
I have to read you a text that I received this morning at 5:54 a.m. Good morning, sir. Although greatest of anything is always a debate, I beg to differ on greatest point guard of all time with what you said. Magic Johnson is easily the best point guard of all time. Steph Curry is very close, but not in front of Magic. You must define point guard to really have a serious debate. Steph Curry is by far the best shooter of all time. Yes, his movement has created many shots for his teammates. He's a career 43% three-point shooter. But Magic Johnson invented the triple-double. Not true invented, but makes it more noticeable in terms of the impact on the game. It's a point guard stat, to be honest. Magic was the best. We can go on, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you get the point. By the way, Magic has 5 NBA championships.
Wow.
That quote this morning at 5:45 was from Mr. Michael Jeffrey Jordan.
Wow, how about that?
And he asked me,
Wow.
he asked me to read it on the air. He said, I'm not backing up for it. He said, I'm tired of this argument about Magic Johnson not being the best point guard in the history of the game. He is the best point guard in the history of basketball. That is from Michael Jordan.
All right.
I'm supposed to believe that Michael Jordan, who at 5:45 a.m. was probably rolling in from the casino,
Don't do that.
texted Stephen A. Smith
She's so wrong.
a 146-word text talking about the comparison of Magic Johnson and Steph Curry. Am I supposed to believe that? Do you want me to believe that, Antoine? Am I supposed to buy that? Do you buy that?
I don't know. I consider it very fortunate in my life to be around Michael Jordan a lot. I don't know. I never heard him talk about Stephen A. Smith or Stephen A. Smith being one of his boys. So I would say that part. But Antoine, I'm sure
Michael Jordan did text him that, but it was Michael Jordan from Hollis, Queens, not Michael Jordan, the GOAT Michael Jordan. I don't know which Michael Jordan he was talking to, but it wasn't the MJ we know.
Yeah.
Let's hypothetically say he did, and let's just talk about.
Okay, sure. Go ahead.
let's hypothetically say that. I think people got to understand Magic Johnson is the best point guard of all time. When you think about it, and it shows with the triple doubles and making other people better. Obviously, he played with some great talent, but Magic also made that great talent great. I mean, that's the word these that great. Word was great in college, but he played with a point guard that ran with him, that got him in the open court, that skill set could show, the Byron Scotts, the Michael Coopers of the world. I'm not even getting on Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. We all know how great he was. You know what I mean? But Steph Curry's different. You know what I mean? In the sense of the way he plays the game. He's a scoring point guard. We haven't seen that in a while. It's not been a lot of great scoring point guards. So I think that's when you talk about the best. I think Steph Curry's the best scoring point guard we've ever seen play in the NBA. And I think that's what people have to get the definition the right way about Steph Curry's game. Steph Curry doesn't make other players better. He makes other players better because he's so great. He demands double teams. He demands a certain defense that you have to play to guard him. So he allows other players to be great around him because it's opportunities that probably play on another point guard that wouldn't come up. So that's where it's just totally different at. But pure point guard, it's no question, hands down, is Magic Johnson.
For sure.
Steph Curry's a scoring point guard. That's just where it comes down to it. And we hadn't seen that in such a point guard be able to average 30 a night. And you're seeing that. That's what Steph Curry separates himself. So it's two different categories with these two guys. That's what I hate about the Stephen A. Smiths and all these people that critique the game. Tell the people the right way. Magic Johnson was a pure PG. Steph Curry is a scoring point guard. There's two different things. And I think that's the problem when we have these conversations, that people don't really break it down. So the common fan who may not understand gets it, that, you know, Magic Johnson was a pure point guard, the guy that's going to give you a triple-double. Steph Curry is not a rebounding point guard. But he can pass, but he's a low assist guy. He's a guy that averages 5 or 6 assists a season. He's not a guy that's going to get you 10 assists a game, but he's a guy that's going to make 8, 9 threes a game. He's going to change the game. The defense has got to change their whole defense because this guy has scoring ability. So I just think it's two different conversations. I hate when people want to get into that conversation. Steph Curry's the best scoring point guard ever, and Magic Johnson the best point guard ever.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And we dove into this conversation briefly earlier in the week. And I don't have an issue with what Steph Curry said, because Steph Curry is what the point guard position has become. It's become more of a combo guard, especially in the NBA, the modern NBA, where there really isn't a true position anymore. It's very positionless. You look at like a center like a Jokic, he does what a center is not supposed to do. So with Steph Curry saying it's him and Magic Johnson, I don't particularly have a problem with it, because Steph is, like I said, what the point guard position has become. But if we're talking about what the point guard position was, what Magic Johnson was, it's somebody who leads in more assists, in more, facilitating role than he does in scoring. Steph Curry is magic is that he can go ahead and orchestrate the flow of a game, but he can go ahead and shoot the lights out. That is not what a traditional point guard is supposed to do. A traditional point guard is more like a Chris Paul. Can score if they have to, but more of a floor general, more of going ahead and making sure that offense flows. So if we're talking about the better point guard, it's Magic Johnson, because he was a true point guard. Do I have an issue with Steph putting himself in that conversation? No, because that position and what Magic Johnson was no longer exists. But I don't think that you can say, as somebody who understands the game and understands what a point guard is, I don't see how you can give Steph Curry that edge over Magic Johnson. Now, if we want to talk about overall careers and we want to have that conversation, then maybe we have more of an argument. But if you look at the way that the Warriors are constructed, it's in what, for people who aren't familiar, it's in what's called a motion offense. So Draymond, if you actually look at it, Draymond is the primary ball handler. He's the facilitator. He's the one that's out there swishing and dishing and making sure his guys are in position to be able to score. So if anybody is the true point guard on that team, it's Draymond, not Steph. So again, I don't have an issue with what was said by Steph Curry, because I do think if we're going to go ahead and just lump it all together, I would put him after Magic Johnson. But if we're going to go ahead and break it down in what it truly is, I don't think you can compare the two.
How much
No,
credit? Sorry,
and
go ahead,
also
Tom.
just to add to that, I just think, what the last part you just said, you can't compare the two because there's
Right.
two different styles. It's just the styles are so different that you can't compare the two. You got to put, when you start talking about Steph, you got to get into this new age of point guards with him, Damian Lillard, just to name another. Those guards are scoring point guards. So you got to, I think it's two different categories. I look at Steve Nash. I put Steve Nash more in a conversation with Magic Johnson because Steve Nash was a triple-double type point guard. He
Or
was
Chris
different,
Paul.
You know what I mean?
Young Chris Paul.
Chris Paul as well.
Yeah.
So those guys are, I think it's just two different conversations. I think scoring point guards, the best scoring point guards that ever play the game, you're going to talk Steph Curry. You're going to talk Damian Lillard. Those are the guys you're going to talk about at that position. I just think it's two different categories, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just watching the game evolve into something being different. We saw it early on when a point guard was really a point guard, where he couldn't score the basketball. And it just transitioned to now scoring. You can be a scoring point guard in the league and be very successful. So I just think it's two different categories. It's two different positions, and people got to understand that and understand it and stop comparing these guys to each other. It's not a fair comparison. Now, you can compare Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant, the same position, same type of player.
For sure.
You know what I mean? It's different. I think
And
you gotta get the right-
Kobe was in an era where I don't think that positionless, that ambiguity of the position was as prevalent as it is now. I think even in Kobe's earlier years, there was still solidified positions. Like if you were a center, you played a certain way. If you were a power forward, you played a certain way. I think now, as the league continues to modernize, I don't think that exists anymore. You're seeing so many different hybrids, which is why, to me, Steph is a combo guard. Like, Steph is a combination of a point guard and a shooting guard. You have centers that can play center and power forward. I mean, there's no true position anymore. I can't even name, I mean, Chris Paul, obviously, because he's still in the league, but if we're talking about the young guys, I mean, there's no Jason Kidd. There's no John Stockton. Those guys were true point guards. I mean, now everybody that is a point guard is a combo guard. I can't name even like a Jalen Brunson, who is more point guard than shooting guard, still scores too much. Kyrie scores too much to be a point guard. I can't even off the top of my head name a true point guard outside of, like I said, Chris Paul, who's, obviously from a different generation, but still in the league. If we're talking new guys in the league, I can't name a single point guard that is a true point guard.
Can I throw one at you that's actually the leader?
Who?
In the last 2 years of with assists, Trae Young. I know he shoots a lot.
Trae Young's not even a true point guard to me. I can't.
He shoots it too much. Trae Young shoots.
I know he shoots.
I have to agree with you on that. It's very hard to find a traditional true point guard right now. Chris Paul may be the last one that's in the league right now that's starting and playing at a very, very high level. That's a traditional point guard. It's some bag-ups that are just really bag-up point guards.
Right.
But traditional point guard, you may be right. So it's just where the league – even I look at Jamal Murray, not the typical point guard.
Right.
He's a scoring point guard. I mean, everybody, the guys that are playing in big situations are like that. Even Kyle Lowry, I think if you look at him, he was a scoring point guard.
Right. I think
I'm just looking at all the different guys. That may be – that's probably honest. I just think it's changed over. Magic may have been the last – Chris Paul may have been the last true traditional point guard that we've seen.
Kyle Lowry was interesting. He was like an enigma because he wasn't enough of a reliable shooter to be such a combo guard, but he did shoot too much to be a point guard. He was like a very, very weird, like, enigma of a player, because if you watch him, he had to really get in a rhythm to be a reliable part of the offense from scoring.
Yeah.
But that wasn't always his game. It was very hot and cold. Like, even when he was in Toronto, that was really he was like a weird middle. It was a weird, I don't know even what to call him. He was a weird one.
No, I just think, Ash, you hit it on the head. I think even if you want to take it back to even a couple years, I would say 5 years ago, when it was the Derrick Rose, Russell Westbrook show.
Yeah.
Those were scoring point guards. These are guys that, that average 25, 30 points a night. So it even started back from with those guys. So I think you're just making a valid point on that. It's just not a lot of traditional point guards. Chris Paul's probably been the last. You think about Jason Kidd and Stockton. Those guys are obviously, but it's probably been Jason Kidd, Stockton. Then Chris Paul kind of carried the torch of the traditional point guard. But ever since 2008, when Russ and Derrick came into the league, the last 15 years has been these type of point guards that are scoring point guards that can get you 25, 30 on a given night and average 25.
Right. And the easiest way that I can explain a point guard to people, because I know people in the chat are like, well, that's what a point guard, yes, that's what a point guard has become. But it's a true definition of a point guard. The simplest way I can explain it is basically it's pass first, shoot second. Like that is the mindset, is pass first, shoot second. If nobody else is open, now it's a completely reverse. Now it's like, I'm going to go ahead and attempt this shot myself. And if I can't, if somebody else is open and has a better shot, then I'm going to pass. It's backwards. Now it's shoot first, pass second. That's not a true point guard. But I want to ask you, you mentioned it's been like the past 15 years. Do we see, everything comes full circle eventually. We see it in the NFL. We see it in other sports. Will it go in reverse? Will we revert back to traditional positions, or is it just too far gone and the guys coming into the league are being taught too many different positions that will never really get back to true 5 positions in the NBA again?
I think you're going to see versatile players. You're going to always see 6'8", 6'9" guys handle the basketball, playing point guard, playing 2 guard. You're never going to see the traditional guys anymore. Some guys will be traditional. You'll get a sprinkle of a guy here and there that's going to be just a basic point guard. And it's going to be a guy that just plays centers, that just blocks shots and rebound. But I think the versatility and the way guys are training now, when you look at these trainers and how they're training guys, and people start training at 6 years old with these personal trainers, the skill set is just going to be much higher.
Right.
So they're going to be more versatile. People are spending money on trainers at 6, 7, 8, 9 years old. I was just with a buddy of mine going to a baseball game, and the kid has already got a trainer at 10 years old for baseball. So I'm just seeing this in different sports. So it's just like, I just think people are training their kids. So they're going to be more versatile. They're going to be more skilled. They're going to have ability to do more things that you don't see from a typical guy. So, we used to see a traditional 7-foot guy be able only to play around the basket. You got Jokic and Embiid stepping out, shooting threes, pushing fast breaks, making plays for others. So the game is going to continue to evolve. It's going to continue to be that way. Kids are really into training now. It's a big thing now. So their skill set is going to continue to be very, very high.
Right.
And we'll be talking about these guys. Hey, this guy's the next Steph Curry. It's another kid right now that can shoot it really good. That's going to be able to handle it and do some of the things that Steph Curry does. And then we may not see that traditional Chris Paul type of point guard anymore, who just runs a team, can't really, not looking to score the basketball.
Right.
These kids, it's just going to be different now.
And I think, listen, the emphasis on, or the implementation of the 3-ball in the NBA was a game changer. You have to remember the 3-ball, didn't really come into play, I want to say, until like the Iverson era, which made it different in terms of positions. Now, that being such an intricate part of the game, you have to be able to kind of score that ball.